Careful with that thing.
Don't be crazy, JD.
I get that, leave it at home. So I already forgot where I left
Yeah.
it.
You didn't make it very far without it. I thought maybe you'd do a dance.
That's when,
Huh?
which gauge is pertaining to, semi truck, it's
I
all.
said, there's just no love for you.
Well, expectations,
His,
right?
I asked Rich for an opinion or what we can do on that semi truck that's at the Enterprise. Thank you.
Is it No Shave November?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yep, and probably December and January and February and. Yep.
Did he give a Cliff Notes version of this too, like, yes, you can sell the truck after 10 days?
His, yeah, the only thing he said was that little blurb ahead of it, that he thought that Ashley had, I know she had sent a letter, I don't know if her letter hit every
No honey woman.
point listed in here, because you've gotta be very specific about the vehicle that's left, all of that. Are you Brett?
I am, I just sat by it.
Nice to meet you.
Before we got started.
Hi. Guys, this is Brett Ewer, he's the new.
Okay, I'll see him. Where are you gonna be? We've met a time or two. A couple times, yeah.
Talked to Doug the other day.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah, perfect. These are pretty fancy. You like those? They catch the eye. Yeah.
Did you get this?
I actually have one.
Well, I have, there's two over there, there's a bunch over there.
Girls.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. You can't quite see it.
I thought no reason to seclude myself. Get back in the mix.
Thank you.
No, I literally just finished. Yeah. Okay, so this is, you guys had briefly brought this up, so this is like, a year to date on what we received for.
Oh, perfect.
Rental income.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
You know,
What
this
spots
dude
you have
put
carved
on.
out for Jerry? Here?
Put him there. Make him sit
that
at
one?
the table.
I think it was two.
No, cause I knew what you were doing. You were gonna, yeah,
You know, we got it set.
got nothing. Here, here, here.
Next year, because this is your, where are we at here? That's your annual rent, so this is what's still in there after we move the 24 everything else, so yeah, you got your April 2025.
Yep.
Things that say.
You should, these are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that spot, yeah.
Okay.
Through the end of the year.
Okay.
Pretty well. Yes. Just trying to maintain stuff. Say the maintenance, the work.
Okay,
Yeah, but-
so it's on the west side of the road there, across from their facility, okay.
I think it's probably mostly finished product that's made in town.
Oh, okay, it's not.
And that space sort of lends itself to pretty good, the drywall walls and stuff.
I thought they had indoor storage for all.
It's not like it has real high ceilings, though. Yeah.
Oh,
Not like
should.
the space for it.
Okay, for the heated stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They put it on pallets and they shrink wrap and cover it in plastic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How's it going, Aaron? Pretty good. I mean, lots of stuff going on. It's crazy how much shit's going on right now. Yep.
Several of those plants failed.
Oh, because of their own emission.
Fracking, price of oil.
Well, let's call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and it's 3:02. So, are there any comments, public comments? Are there any public comments? One more time, are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes from last month? Are there any corrections or additions?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes from last month's meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, we'll move on to the building and maintenance. I don't believe are there any items for the visitor center? Okay, I didn't receive anything, I hadn't heard of anything. Animal shelter, I don't believe there's anything new there. Library,
I do
so the
have,
damaged window,
I do have, two things relative to the library. Relative to the damaged window, I have quite a paper trail there. But the city attorney Patrick Rowe is out this week, so I wasn't able to get an update
okay,
as of today where that stands, but I believe that he has sent a letter out to the contractor. He has a copy of the contract that talks about the insurance and so on and so forth, so hopefully by the time we next meet, we'll have an update in there. I did also want to hand out copies of some information I obtained. It's relative to the new concrete, which I see is on the agenda.
yeah, I kept it on there, just in case there was some, cause we had still had some questions on the funding of that.
Okay. And those might still be out there, but what I have here is, the day after that went down, it started to concern me that with the farmer's market moving over there, that somebody might be inclined to back their truck up to the building, down the sidewalk and crack it all up, and we had just spent a great
Yeah.
deal of money putting it in.
Yes.
So this proposal is essentially to install removable pipe molars
Oh, yeah.
out at the street. And the reason for that would be to, control, so that only county maintenance, for example, could pull those up and straddle the sidewalk if they needed to back up with their truck.
Yeah.
But that, other people wouldn't be able to do that. And I do know the farmer's market, to their credit, provides shopping carts for the vendors to go back and forth down the sidewalk.
Okay.
So they're not hand carrying things.
Okay.
So this would be something I assume going forward for the library to consider spending money on putting up these molars. Since we only have, I believe,
response back on the HVAC. He said that he was gonna reach out to me, I never got a phone call or anything.
Who was that,
Doug,
on the HVAC?
yeah,
I haven't talked to him.
okay.
But we're still on the cemetery things.
Right, that just weighs into whether or not there's flexible, so that's,
I'm done with my.
On the, dealing with the HVAC on the library, Doug isn't going to be working 4 years on that, but I did stop, get a call from some library, that said everybody over there was freezing.
I saw that email.
So I went over and, the batteries for the thermostats as well as the sensor, the temperature sensors, both shot, or excuse me, all 4 of them were shot. So I replaced all the batteries and then reprogrammed the thermostats and whatever, and I haven't heard anything from them.
So that was the only issue then?
That was it, which, and I was going to say, Mr. Wheeler, if you want, I'm glad to go around with you for some of the buildings, so you kind of see what's in there for heat, and what's where, you know, the appliances are, and so on and so forth. I know there's only 7 buildings, but your predecessor didn't seem to understand boiler and, Frick's building, so I'll be glad to, if you want to pick a time to say that.
Sure.
So, anyway, so their furnaces are running, the library, those 7 2 checked it, year or 2 ago. So everything's good that way, and, if there's a problem, we'll know. And so in the meantime, like I said, Doug is, like everybody else, just running around putting out fires and so on and so forth. So, fortunately, one of the fires they did get put out was in a house, I bought a new house, by accident. 3 of them that burned in the last, few weeks.
Yeah, is that arson? I heard about that.
I'm not gonna say, but the long story short, so that knocked one job out that he was trying to get done. So, anyway, we'll stay on top of it until that happens. Other than that, there shouldn't be anything downstairs, the boiler, again, that's another one, this maybe for Mr. Bueller. The water temperature was low, or excuse me, the water quantity was low on it. And so basically the matter was just adding some more water to it to kick it on. It's a safety mechanism that when the water gets too low, it shuts off. So that's one of the things that needs to be checked on, because as it's heating it up, there will be some water that will escape as irritated air. So just, like I'll go with you, and I would say again, I'll give you my phone number if you need, if you have any problem, give me a call. I don't charge you much to anybody else, so it's
Um,
time to mess it up.
As that low water call, I was gonna mention, we'll be looking at, there's that pressure valve that once it gets below 12 pounds is supposed to kick in and autofill.
Sure.
Doug had mentioned that that was original with the new wall mount. So it looked like maybe that, we bypassed it, got it filled, but maybe that part was gonna need replacement.
I'll take a look at it. That's it for the HVAC. Well, if somebody calls, just call me.
Okay. So nothing on the funding then for,
no, because I,
cause we don't know where Doug's gonna be at with his numbers.
They're gonna be real close to where he was, with the exception of the materials difference.
Okay. Any idea when he'll have a number for us though?
Oh, I don't know. I think we're waiting for us to, order the stuff, and then once it's here, they're not letting him.
Okay.
In fact, he can't even get guaranteed prices for nothing for that stuff yet. As soon as he can get a number, I'll make sure he's.
Alright. Okay. Guess that's the best we can do then. Alright. Jamie. Our financial report, you sent it out.
yeah,
Did anybody have any questions?
I think the only, negatives that I saw were anticipated. We know that we spent a lot of money at ADF, redoing the heating unit in the roof. So we'll have a negative position there, I assume at year's end, but we've done very well at that facility in the past and should expect to in the future. So that being the case, I don't see cause for concern.
We did
did just have one question, just for understanding what your titles mean. That top expenditure line, I think on just about everything that says control, what does that relate to?
These are like our cost allocations,
For like that finance and admin kind of stuff?
and for like maintenance time, and things like that. So
Oh.
like all of our departments in the county are like pay cost allocations.
Yeah. Broken out kind of on a percentage?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought, but rather get it from the horse's mouth, not that you guys are horses or anything. It's the same. Thank you.
Alright, anything else then? Okay. Enterprise Center. The abandoned truck, so I asked Rich to give an opinion or let us know what we can do with that truck that's been abandoned out there. What our options are, and from what I understand from that document, after 10 days, as long as we've notified them, and it's very specific what has to be in that notification. As long as we've done that, we can dispose of that pretty much the way we decide to. But if I remember right, it wasn't actually delivered, you sent it, correct? Or was it received?
It was sent registered mail, so the VIN came back to someone in Florida,
Okay,
and it was sent registered mail, and they attempted to deliver it like, I don't know, 6, 8 times, whatever. I have all of it scanned into my computer, but it did come back, no one ever signed for it.
okay,
But Rich said as long as we have that as proof that, the attempt was made to reach the owner.
okay.
If the vehicle is sold, who gets receipts? Who gets the money?
The municipality, how is that worded?
I mean, this is assumed to be an abandoned vehicle at that point.
Yes,
Okay, so
Yep.
then whatever it's sold for should go to the county.
right, well, it would, yeah, I
I'm
would
just
think
saying
it
does
would go to
back
the,
that
To the
person.
enterprise
into the
center.
joint committee, it could be designated right to the enterprise center, I would think.
Offset expenses.
That would be
So I'm
my
not sure
thought
that's-
on it.
We're not sending it back to whoever left the truck.
No, no,
And the Enterprise is one of our more finicky boilers. I guess if we had to run it, looking at having a fund, it's not bad, but we have to fund it.
that's true, I don't know what condition the semi's in.
I should say that's the one that's giving us the most problems.
It's unlocked, you can just let yourself right in.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's how I got the VIN.
Okay, are the
Well,
keys in it?
I pulled out the door and expected it to be locked, and it wasn't, cause the VIN is in the door,
Yeah,
Did you check the keys?
I did not, I didn't wanna really dig around in there, cause I didn't know what I might find.
chicken,
Great.
alright. So,
I do see here you can donate it to a nonprofit organization too.
That's the county.
Well, yeah, but if you had a group like Friends of the Animal Shelter, or the AMVETS or something, just as a thought.
That would probably be for the board to make.
Yeah.
Disperse those funds.
Just wanted to put it out there.
Mhm.
We do need revenue to offset expenses.
okay. So Fritz Avenue, we had a response, have you advertised for it?
Yeah, we took a few people through it, so that'll get advertised next week
Okay,
and
Okay.
run that for a couple weeks.
do you have
Have
any
some.
interested parties at the moment?
The one I went through with it was relocating from Eau Claire, and right now is just looking for a smaller storage area, but he's working on some contracts for next spring that would, require additional space for actual manufacturing. Right now, he was just looking to store inventory and equipment, so
Okay.
less space, a lot less space needed than what's there.
Okay.
Rather than subdivide it right from the get-go, it makes sense to try to get somebody that'll take up the whole space.
took somebody through this morning, and they're looking for, turning in, it's part of FHC.
Okay.
And they're looking at basically expanding an operation, similar to what we did with the rental, or with the AODA
Oh.
facility.
Oh, okay.
They're looking for offices, examiners, so on and so forth,
With that,
so
take quite a bit of remodeling in there for that.
it would be as much as we did in the front end,
That's true.
and FHC in the front, because that was totally.
Would they utilize that whole space?
They're interested in something a lot bigger than what Hooper had.
Oh,
They were looking at Hooper first, but now they feel they need more space than that. So before we commit to somebody, I would just ask that, give them a chance to get back, because realistically, office space over there, anyone that's willing to take something of this storage, I mean, we're giving storage space away.
Right. Right.
And this one is, becomes office exam rooms and so on and so forth.
It would
Be
be,
a lot better,
yeah.
lot better use of that building, so, anyway, I will keep it posted this.
Okay.
If you need to make a commitment with this guy, just let me know.
Oh, no, I don't think need to at this point.
I would just, and the only reason I'm saying is, I would like to see us doing something better with some of the buildings.
I agree with you.
Just giving somebody to store stuff in,
Yep.
because most of the time it's junk, and most of the time it's left there and whatever.
Right.
This would be way beyond that, so.
Yeah, active operation is either keeping jobs in the community or expanding.
Well, it's bringing jobs in, they're putting another, they said they hired another 4 people up front, in front, and they're already looking at, they need more space for that. So, anyway.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Any update on the LED lighting at all?
Yeah, actually, I talked with Scott a week or so ago, and he said that he's like everybody else, he's just running. But I'm thinking 2 things. Number one, he said he couldn't get in there before February.
Okay.
As soon as he can get in to swap out all the lights. By then, I would think that Allen Bradley will have all of their, shipping containers and their whatever pallets and so on, so forth out of there. Make it fairly easy to do it then. But if these people wind up going into there, they're gonna want totally different lighting setups and individual
Right.
control rooms and stuff. So February is good. If he holds off until February, I know we'll know by then.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to change it all
No.
and then turn around and have to change it all again.
especially at that point, we would probably want to pay for the change.
Right.
As opposed to, let's see,
Okay. ADF, after the rain, did anybody see how that pavement shook out? That's why I left it on there, because there was questions about how that was gonna actually be with that drain that was kinda run alongside the building.
I didn't get a chance.
I did. So, alright. No complaints then?
Didn't hear any complaints, I could reach out to ADM and ask them. They're usually pretty good at letting us know when something's wrong.
Okay.
I'll reach out.
Usually that's how it is, some things are wrong, you always hear that.
Usually.
Alright. So Jazz and Dowdy, mold remediation. So,
Yes, sir. We had a leaking toilet valve that got missed, which
Okay.
led to absorption into the sheetrock and quite a bit of mold growth.
okay,
I do have an invoice, if you need to look at that, for the mold remediation, came out to $3,256.73. In the main office, they had to make a 4-foot flood cut, along the center wall, 2 foot on everything else. It's all cleaned up, remediated, has been, had kills sprayed on it to stop that, and, the valve was replaced on the toilet right away as well.
okay,
So now as far as getting it back to looking good, Al and I had talked, we stopped by and looked at it, that Monday, I believe. And, we're thinking it has orange peel sprayed on the wall, so to
Yep.
match that. we're thinking that was gonna be fairly expensive, but Kyle had the idea to add some wainscoting to the wall to kind of cover our sins, so to say.
Yep.
So I'm looking at getting some furring strips to make up for that lack of sheetrock for
Oh,
that wall.
yep.
And, the maintenance part, we'll go ahead and do that repair in there, so it should just be cost materials.
Awesome. So we just need to approve.
$501,000 for one of those,
$256.
yeah, that they're working on the infill for. They just took it out. Yeah, they run their fans and all that.
Yep, they ran fans to dry it, they have vacuumed.
So they didn't take it out, they didn't take the insulation out?
Oh no, everything that was saturated or mold covered is removed. The bottom plate of the wall was saturated. So that's why we got the fans on to finish off drying that green treat, and then that Kills was applied over top of it to stop any new mold growth.
When we were doing the FHC building, they had the same issue, where it would run back, and we wanted to take it out, walls all over the place in that back end, re-rocking, re-insulating, and I know, I mean, we
Yeah.
had, I'll bet there was, 20 to 30 feet, running feet of mold.
Mhm.
We took them all out, and I know it didn't cost us anything, it was $50,000. It just seemed like a little bit on that extravagant side.
There
Obviously,
was.
it's done, so I'm assuming.
There was quite, I do have a breakdown of each room as to what they did, if you'd like to see that.
It's done, right?
Yes, it
It's
is.
never been built.
Sure, yeah, the biggest problem that led to that is it was leaking underneath the staircase. So we had an enclosed dark area, which mold loves. So once they got into the walls, they found a lot more than just what was visible, which led to more head vacuum.
Do we need action to approve paying that?
Probably don't hurt to make it there.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Also move.
Okay, do we have a second? Oh. You want, I'll second. Okay. Any further discussion regarding that? Hearing none, all in favor of paying bill for the mold remediation at Jazz Road, signify by saying aye. Aye. Carried. Okay. Infill building progress. So, Ashley, let me know, and I may have been remiss in this, but Rich believes that the county should have approved this, the building before it started. The full board.
I don't think that's accurate, 'cause I think in all the ordinances that, deal with joint management, it says the power for repairing, renovating, all that falls to this board to act on behalf of the only time that either city council or county board would have to act, taking on debt, entering into a grant agreement.
But did this board approve that
They did, I think, like
last year?
2-3 months ago. Look back through the minutes. Yeah, I think that's inaccurate opinion on behalf of county's attorney. And that'd be funny telling him that he was. Webster, were you here, or was somebody here on your behalf at the September 26th meeting?
September, October,
Where we had that recording?
possibly.
But I think, yeah, the discussion and intent of discussion is the city received this bid to do it, is what we moved forward. So that was the approval. The
Yes.
approval of the stock. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know if it's, can be acted on the way it's written here, if you want to revisit
Well, these
it.
minutes were approved,
Right, yeah.
so they can't.
So. Yeah, I guess we took it as, this board giving it their blessing to the plans for to have the city selected contractor do the work at 100% of the city cost.
Right.
I don't think we reviewed the actual drawings, plans. I think it's,
I don't think we did I don't recall seeing them, actually.
yeah. But I think it was the plans on how to proceed. But we could debate that.
Was that, was that the meeting when you had, where you had it, that the city was gonna be paying for the utilities for, or was that last month?
Yeah, those on. I don't see that in the September.
The October one said that the city's taking care of
Take
the
the-
cost as well as,
And the utilities during construction, yep, that's one. Yep.
I do see on the September minutes that had the date listed, the completion for June 15th of 24. So we can't go back and change that one, I mean, I guess it's. Yeah,
Wasn't here.
anybody reading that will, yeah, make that realization, conclusion, or whatever. That was approved after June 15th, so probably telling that.
why would the county be interested or have to prove that the city's taking care of the costs of the
Just because it's still, it's being attached to a jointly owned building. I mean,
I could see that joint management thought that's what needed to happen.
I don't-
Whatever.
I don't know, I guess I'll defer to you as far as why
Right, and that
the
was.
thought was the
Rich's
full
opinion.
board rather than this
Right,
committee.
Rich's opinion was that the board and the council should have both passed, like, either a resolution or some kind of a motion that strictly outlined what is happening, who's doing it, who's paying for it. Kinda like we did that resolution to change the joint management agreement, that is his opinion, because we are both co-owners in the building, so both bodies should sign off and be on the same page about what's happening out there.
Yeah, but yeah, then in theory, you'd be doing that with any major change, which we haven't done as practice. I mean, even the ADF heating cooling unit for $60,000, that's a change. You're bringing in a new piece of equipment, so it's not gonna operate the same as an old piece of equipment, so. Maybe ask him if he hasn't, to just reread the joint management agreement and see if his opinion differs at all. Since it didn't involve grant funds and didn't involve the county spending any funds.
Again, he just wanted both bodies to be on the same page, have a resolution in place, so there's something to refer back to, because a lot of times when we talk about things here, no one has any record of anything, so.
What would the board like to do?
Why don't you draft a resolution? The companion one. by someone in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
We all know it did, but with different actors 5 years from now.
Right.
And just, Mr. Chair, just one other note,
Yes.
you guys have finally met Brett now, but like, just like for the future, if like power is gonna be off or something like that, if you could just shoot us like some kind of like a email or something letting us know, that would be much appreciated, just keeping us in the loop as to what's going on out there. Just an FYI.
Like power out
Yep.
at that building?
Yep.
Or,
Yep.
Me and Al got to sit down a while back and have a
Good.
talk about
Yeah.
that. Cause it worked out, we got lucky, Service Master came the day after power was turned back on. So, just could've been an unfortunate circumstance there, but it was worth it, so.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I wasn't where the power got turned on. Assume, yeah, either Excel changing a service or a contractor, just,
Yeah, I talked to B and B when they were there and they were running 480 into the building, so that required power to be cut, so we're just gonna do that.
and I will add, if I may, I guess I didn't look close enough, but there wasn't a maintenance update or anything like that, so I should have done it in public comment, but I've been very impressed with Mr. Wheeler since he came on board, I think he.
I have been too, actually, I haven't met you till today, but just from what I have seen coming through in emails, I'm highly encouraged, so
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you.
reached out within a couple days of being on the job, and has always been real thorough, and, yeah, asked him to go meet on site at different places, look them over, and get brought up to speed on stuff, so I appreciate it. I think you guys made a good hire.
All right. We'll move on to Gates. Ashley asked me to put on the Ross County Sheriff's Department lease. Alan, you had sent the sheriff something, I believe, or, yes.
Yep.
Did you get a response?
Did not,
Okay.
I don't believe, unless it went to my junk folder. And I didn't get pulled over at all in the last month, so.
That doesn't happen until after the first payment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that got to do with administrations.
So Ashley, what,
So again, this is just coming from Rich, it would be prudent to have a lease with all of our tenants to protect both us and the tenant. Just kind of wondering why the lease wasn't sent to the sheriff's office when it was sent to all the other tenants, and I think the response I got was that he's an occupant.
Yep, and I may have erred a little in my terminology, but here's state statute on the matter.
So just from a practical perspective, most of our leases cover us, like in terms of if you break something, you're gonna fix it, things like that. So Rich thinks it would be prudent for this board to set forth some kind of guidelines now that the sheriff's department will be paying rent.
I think it'd be wise, I mean, you don't, okay.
But I'm going to defer to Jim, so I think.
I can listen to differing opinions, so go ahead.
Yep, I'll start off with chapter 704 of the state statutes, highlighted their, definition 2, periodic tenant. Means tenant who holds possession without a valid lease and pays rent on a periodic basis, including a tenant from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, or other recurring interval of time, the period being determined by the intent of the parties under the circumstances with the interval between rent paying dates normally evidencing the intent. I think in the letter here, I did note what the monthly anticipated rent would be just based on the square footage. So it, state statute does allow leases without them being written. I think probably the biggest reason not to have a big written out lease, and I know we're not gonna get any further this meeting than we have in previous ones, other than to say, you know, both joint parties disagree
Okay.
on that interpretation, but I think what a written lease like that does is it just memorializes something that at least one of the parties believes legally still shouldn't be happening. I don't know if that increases our liability or county's liability at all. You know, right now, we've got, I think it's 2018 minutes that reference, you know, Mr. Alvarado saying that the sheriff's department is occupying the Northford gates and nobody having objections, might have even been a vote on it, I don't recall that, but other than that, you know, there's not really.
Yeah, my recollection of it was that it was brought up and that the sheriff's department would like to occupy it, and that there was a vote on it. Actually, the gentleman sitting on the end of the table was at that meeting and a member of the board at that time. Marty, no, I'm pointing at myself, but I wasn't. You were on the joint.
I was reading this, go ahead.
In 18, when the sheriff's department started occupying gates. So anyway, that was, at that time, this body approved them occupying, if you will, that space. Now, I agree that they should be paying rent. I also agree that if we have an entity that will provide jobs in this community, that they should be able to be there. I believe personally that them being in there inhibits our ability to rent that space, because if, I haven't seen yet where we put that out, you know, we haven't advertised it. I haven't seen that happen. And I think if, you know, it would put the sheriff's department in a tough spot, or at least it would light a fire under them, because they'd have to find a spot if somebody actually came in and wanted it. But I think them being there has, you know, this body has not advertised it actively because the sheriff's department has been in there. I mean, that's what I think, I don't know if that's fact.
Yeah.
I know that, Junior has showed it on more than one occasion.
I know that, yes.
And the actions of the sheriff's department, which is probably something more you'd expect out of me, were, very problematic in that, you have a local industry in there looking it over, and the sheriff screams at the, private enterprise that's looking at the streets. It's not a very welcome.
Yeah, and I heard from their side of it too, that he's said that they had walked into an area that they had been asked not to walk into.
They were looking at the electrical panel.
I understand that,
The sheriff's electrical panel.
I'm just saying what I was told.
And I have yet showed it to a few groups, but there's also been times where we've been denied the ability to even bring an electrician in there to look at the service, because one of the interested groups had a question about can we upgrade this service, so I can't answer that question for them.
Right.
So we need an electrician to go look at what's there, what's coming in, they know what they're talking about, requested that, and I think what came of that was the county property committee tried to pass an action that we couldn't show gates anymore and we couldn't advertise, which was an overstep of the county's purview.
Yeah, I would say.
And I asked the county, property committee, the chair, Tony Hauser used to sit right here on this.
Okay.
We asked them time and time again to begin the process of looking for alternate space, and it was essentially ignored. I don't know if it was recorded in the minutes that I made the request brother's present converted.
Yeah, just personal thoughts on a lease are that that's just gonna memorialize something that again, you know, we're kind of at odds over.
But then without, there should be some type of written document, I mean, if we're going to require them to pay rent of some kind, it needs to be more than a letter asking that. There needs to be some type of agreement.
Yes, how do maintenance issues in that section of the building get handled right now? Yeah, I guess you're tuning in.
I haven't run into that yet.
So I know one time when we were showing it, you know, there was a whole bunch of mold in one of them from the dripping condensate pump that was dripping, you know, who knows how long, into one of those little offices that were made out of the main manufacturers.
That on the north side there, you're talking.
The east wall, there's like a little
Okay,
break off.
yep.
And, you know, there's cardboard boxes full of evidence stacked right up in front of it. I mean, does, you know, we hear every time we talk about putting them outside, and then if I get too far off course, steer me back in, but
Well, I believe we're,
put them in the yard outside, and, well, we can't do that, cause that'll, you know, then the car's gonna age cause of the sun or whatever,
Right.
and it's gonna be in the same condition, but how does black mold sitting in a building with poor air circulation do anything for the evidence? I mean, paper evidence, cardboard boxes, fabric on car seats. All
I
of
get that,
So,
but back to the lease. I mean, we still, I mean,
yeah. I don't know where to go on it, but it just scares the heck out of me. If what's been done, you know, is in violation of the EPA that puts both the city and the county on a blacklist for federal funding for, you know, however long, I don't know how that all works. And really, the only way we're gonna find that out is if we involve EPA in that process.
well, let's go back to this chapter 704. So the paragraph that you highlighted here defines what a periodic tenant does or is. But I don't see anything in here about whether a periodic tenant should have a lease or not. Where am I missing that?
First sentence is without a valid lease. Periodic tenant means a tenant who holds possession without a valid lease and pays rent on a periodic basis.
But they haven't paid rent, so now they're being
Right now,
asked to pay rent.
Right now, they're probably considered number 5, which is a tenant at will, which is any tenant holding permission of tenant's landlord without a valid lease and under circumstances not involving periodic payment of rent. So, I guess where's county attorney been for the last 5 years, 6 years? It's kinda weird that it comes up now,
Mm-hmm.
in all honesty. Doing
Yeah.
what he's supposed to.
I'd like to also just, add a little bit to my comments at previous meetings about how we interpret the EDA agreement. I'm guessing that Mr. Summerfield probably reviewed the working agreement relative to the West County Rail Transshipment Facility, which is probably more commonly referred to as the Tony Rail Yard.
Okay.
That was a county project. I happen to have written a grant application, so I know every detail about how it was put together. But it was put together as a county-only project, so I'm sure the county attorney probably reviewed that document. To my knowledge, knowledge, that would have probably been the only thing he's ever looked at closely. I can provide proof within 15 minutes of leaving here that I have done more economic development administrations than anybody else in northwest Wisconsin in the past 30 plus years, 13 of them. The communities that were number 2, 3, and 4, like Superior, Ashland, Spooner, Medford, all combined only did 12, and I did one of the Medford ones. So I have done these over and over, perused all the documents, and what Junior told you is absolutely correct. And we have to, in order to ever sell these properties, you have to get a release of mortgage and agreement from the Economic Development Administration. And when you file a report on it, you have to indicate who the occupants are, what they're doing. And I have told him, you absolutely do not sign a document that isn't honest about that. If that includes listing the Russ County Sheriff's Department, if we get in trouble, then we get in trouble. But, that's the way it has to be done properly. I'm fine with that. Their agreement is not allowed for the Russ County Sheriff's Department to be a tenant at all. And I think memorializing that in the form of a lease just puts us one step closer to having to pay back a grant that was over probably in the $900,000, $838 something. I just don't think you wanna step into that particular, help.
Okay.
And I'm sure as hell vote against it to slam the table when I do. You know, I will.
I did run this by the city attorney too, and he concurred with the assessments on 2 and 5 in that lease. Doesn't need to be in place, so yeah, I think it would be prudent if a vote is held for the city members, just for the sake of protecting the city's interest, either vote no on a lease or yes to not authorizing the lease.
I'll make a motion that no lease be entered into in this instance.
Second. Is there any further discussion?
And I hope that Dan will, vote accordingly, because his name is on some of those documents as well as Mr. Ryan's. None of us need to get into that particular problem there.
Okay, I'm still going to, I don't quite agree with this because my thought on it, I believe that right now, these 2 descriptions of the sheriff's department do apply. But if we're requiring them to pay rent, then they become a tenant. That would require a lease. That's what I think.
Yeah, state statute doesn't require that, and I should have corrected it, but if you go to 704.19, it spells out that both these categories of tenants receive the same protections as somebody with a written lease. They'll have to give 28 days notice, I think it is, for termination of tenants. It's all spelled out there in the.
What was that?
statute.
What was that reference again, statutory reference?
704.19.
Is that anything you can pull up, Ashley?
I don't have my laptop with me.
Notice necessary to terminate periodic tenancies and tenancies at will. Following types of tenancies, however created, are subject to this section of periodic tenancy, whether a tenancy from year to year, month to month, or for any other periodic basis according to which rent is regularly payable, and tenancy at will, by either the landlord or the tenant only by giving to the other party written notice complying with this section, unless any of the following conditions is met. One, the parties have agreed expressly upon another method of termination, and the parties' agreement is established by clear and convincing proof. Two, termination has been effected by a surrender of the premises. Or three, subsection 6 applies. Yeah, there's a whole thing that spells out your manner of giving notice. I should have printed it. My apologies for that.
That's okay. I don't have this memorized by any means, so more information would definitely be good.
Yeah, somewhere in here it mentions 28 days, it has to be 90 days, but it's May.
It's 28 days from rent, within a rent paying period, so, if rent is normally due on the first, you have to give notice. It has to be 28 days prior to that. It's not just any random 28 days.
Right.
Now, is the issue with EPA and the contracts, the term lease or the term tenant? You know what I'm saying?
The issue is that the grant was given to develop the property for lease to the private sector for job creating
So it's not
purposes,
lease to the private
not
sector.
for government occupancy.
So,
Clear.
My question is, though, is it the fact that you have to have a lease, or is it just that if you're a tenant, and the tenant is a public entity, then they're not under any circumstance authorized to be in there and use that facility
Right.
for the public? So how do you get around the fact that there is a public entity in there?
I'm hoping that whenever we submit a request for release of the property to enable sale, that tenant is long gone.
how, just out of curiosity, I mean, how do you prove that you're creating jobs? I mean, we're renting warehouse space to existing businesses that aren't creating any new jobs.
It's industrial use.
And Mr. West is storing property out there. That's not, yeah, it's a defunct business that hasn't generated
Most of the
anything for a year and a half.
This is just a little history lesson here, but most of these, were originally job creating. It's within the, realm of supporting business to have warehouse space. We, at the time that we renovated that particular property, a die casting firm had been in there.
Yep, yep.
That went out of business, and the county ended up with tax title to the property, and was gonna be stuck with the cleanup costs. It was also environmental contaminated. We used the money to convert it and, ended up leasing it to 5R Processors, which was not a good tenant, but they employed over 100 people.
Right.
Well, you have to do what you can do best when they moved out, you know, portions of the building were leased to other entities like little, fiberglass firm that's, they don't employ anywhere near 109 people.
No,
But
and
do
they employ somebody, I mean, they are generating some employment out of that building. But, you know, the paper mill, I mean, that business is being supported, but it isn't doing anything.
It would be better if we had jobs in there, absolutely.
Right, so I guess my point is, how is that any different than the sheriff's department?
It's still a private
Having-
enterprises versus non-private.
Okay.
We've never had EDA, raise an issue about leasing warehouse space, and to be perfectly honest, in several of the cases, the quality of the, use has deteriorated over time. The same thing's true over at Fritz Avenue. At one point in time, when we first started it, the sign shop employing people there, BJ Wood Products was employing people there.
Yep.
And Flammable Little Partners. They, between the three of them, they occupied the entire building and employed 44 people at that location. I suppose today, there are
maybe 6.
3 or 4 or 5 or
something.
something
Yeah.
like that, yeah, very, very small number, most of it's used for warehouse. Well, that's not true, I didn't consider Marty,
Yeah.
the operation that you put in there employs at least 12.
We've got about a dozen, and Barry, I heard, just hired one more today.
Yeah, so that's in addition to the 6 that are more manufacturing.
Yep.
There was also no intention of having 100 workers there.
Right.
I have them, turns out they want to move in the back section of Travis, we would have, they're saying now.
But there's other benefits that go along with
Oh,
that
yeah,
also.
absolutely.
I mean, you're providing a service to the community that is not there. I mean,
Actually, we have a war, the building there does
Right.
basically the same, except that their clientele is of different caliber and age than is.
And we would have had the same problem if there was any serious talk of building new county jail out on the corner of Valley Road and Highway 27, and I've seen letters to the editor suggesting a new government, not a government, Justice Center, if a Justice Center were built on that corner.
yeah.
That would be in violation of the agreement that allowed that area to be developed for industrial sites that are for sale. We'd have the same issue, but it can't be developed by a government or,
Okay.
it can be sold to Phillips Plastics.
Yep.
Any company like that that wants to come in and buy it, but not for some use. It's neither here nor there otherwise, but it isn't something.
Yep.
that actually-
All right, so back to the sheriff's department. So we got,
You have a motion in a second.
I know, they just couldn't bring that up. Well, that's okay. But I've forgotten exactly what your motion was.
The motion was made by Mr. Christensen, second by Mr. Kenny, to deny a lease with West County Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
Yes, a lease. I have, well, I think it's a periodic tenancy or plan to be.
Lease
You
agreement.
indicated it's an at-will occupancy at present. If it moves to the other category, I'm not sure I'm particularly supportive of that, but I'm definitely not supportive of a lease.
My question is that could the attorney say that your management has, stated they're not gonna give a lease to the sheriff's department? And so what are we supposed to do?
And, I think it's been stated here that the periodic tenancy is apparently available.
I agree that there's gotta be something different, I'm saying is that.
I guess attorneys can say whatever they wanna say, and the opposing one has something else to say, and you can bring them both into the next meeting. I think.
Say at this time,
What's that?
at this time, the lease is not decided.
That's to me.
I think when the first month passes and you don't get a rent payment, then they rejected the letter and the action of this board. They don't accept the terms that we see in any other thing, so we'll go and find it is not, so. They heard that brought up on a different, lease law, they said, these are the terms, if you don't accept them, find somewhere else to go, something like that.
So then where would they go?
That'd be up to them to figure out.
We're talking about the sheriff's department.
That's correct.
And the city,
And the city police.
the city police department, don't forget that they've got
They're-
stuff stored out there also.
They're all audited under my orders.
We weren't aware of that when they became aware of it, we told them to get their stuff.
Okay.
They didn't have much, but any amount was too much.
Agreed.
And
fails, are you essentially offering a lease to the sheriff's department, or would you have to revoke that motion?
I'm not sure, but
You'd have to approve a lease,
So that will.
I would think so.
sort of lease terms.
Oh,
So are you calling it a lease then at that point, or just calling it
Should I
an
put
agreement,
the,
tenancy agreement or something? Supposed lease?
in, do you want me to put this part of it in that, periodic tenant? As described in, state statute 70401, paragraph 2?
I think one is, we were talking about a lease, and that's the agreement, you know, you say a lease, because the lease, according to this definition, is an agreement for order to transfer possession of property, et cetera.
So you want me to put,
704.01, paragraph 1.
I think you should probably attach any documentation that's gonna include them.
Everyone's leases on that. It was just all the gates. Just that way it hurts on the Fritz that we're still square foot dollar amount and what square foot utility. Did away with that, or just flat. Yes.
I'd like to amend my motion to, my terminology that I selected towards this. I wanna take out the word deny and instead say not execute.
I think that's the way you worded it.
Yeah.
So, first thing.
so that was my mistake.
So don't want the word deny in there, it's too negative.
Got it?
I'll redo my second if you feel like.
Well, I think that's actually how you worded it
I
the
think
first
so.
time. Okay. Are we ready for a vote on this? Is there any more discussion? So, all in favor of not executing a lease with the sheriff's department for the portion of Gates Avenue building that they are currently occupying, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. I still think something should be
If
done.
I could ask you a favor, Brian, maybe, this is the committee chair, maybe you want to approach the county property committee chair, and I'm not sure who that is at this time. But suggest that they start giving some serious thought to looking for an alternate location. I also know that, just one little tidbit, I don't recall whether this was, this may have been a tour that occurred before you joined this committee, but we toured, that space with Officer Grassman a few months back.
I toured it not too long ago, you weren't able to go.
Which was not too, cause I had just.
You had already been there, not
Yeah.
long before.
But he essentially, said with all of us standing there that they were occupying at least twice as much space as they needed according to him.
Well, that's what it looked like to me,
Yeah.
even though I was.
So a car here, a car there, and a car over there. So,
The impression I got was that they liked having that space to use a lot of it for training, and
Right.
other counties were coming here to use that space for training, and what they.
Oh, I didn't catch that part of it when we went through, they didn't mention other companies that come in, but, yeah.
Because I asked what Price County did, and, you know, you talked about Berrien County and Sawyer County coming here, so I wasn't that really comparable, because they had much larger population than we did in West County, so I asked if Price or the other county had anything similar. He didn't know, but off the top of his head, I guess, but, yeah, I got the impression it was much larger than what we did.
I think we've got a lot of gyms around this community to go with wrestling.
Mhm.
And use them for the 1 or 2 days a year to do that training. I mean, those are already facilities till.
Oh, you're, yeah.
I'm sure the city would be very willing to work with the sheriff's department on a favorable fee or waiving fee to use that gym space for training. You know, with some caveat, they have to break it. Not charging $25 a head, whatever.
All right. And the other item underneath gates, I just missed taking it off, so my apologies for that. Item J, joint management agreement. So I've seen 3 versions. There's the original joint management agreement that was made sometime in the 80s, 87 or 88, I believe. And then if I recall correctly, there's 2 more versions that are titled joint management agreement, but they're kind of abridged in relation to the first one. The first one has this body, 2 members from the city, 3 members from the county, and a non-voting member from the LNEC. That's stated in the original one. The next 2 don't mention an LIDC member at all. Anyway, I believe, and you've talked to me about this, I believe we need to redo this agreement. I mean, it needs to be brought up to date, holes need plugged, and my opinion, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I mean, I'm not good at legalese or anything like that, but I believe that the best way to do it is for us to take the time and hammer it out in this body, and whatever we do there, then we can have legal look at it. I would rather do that and work on it collaboratively here, rather than have you write one up and bring it here, or us do the same. I just think it would be much better to work on it together. It might be clunkier, but I think we're gonna get a better result.
Was one of the ones you were referring to, by chance, more of a letter that might have been drafted by Marilyn Cougar?
I don't recall one
Who
like
was the
that.
predecessor to Jamie's predecessor? I think that one, was probably, I wanna call that the original, because before we went to the name Joint Management Committee, I think we started out working only on the Fritz Avenue property. It was the only one we had together, and it was called the Fritz Avenue Management Committee, or the Fritz Avenue Joint Management Committee. And actually Marilyn had, memorialized the relationship to govern that facility in writing. He did a nice job with it. And, that one may contain components that survived in practice, if not in writing.
I actually don't recall.
I do
seeing
have that. I can put my hands on that, within 5 minutes of getting back to my office and
Okay.
send it in.
The original one was in 91, December of 91.
It's county resolution something dash 91-115 maybe.
91-115, correct. And that was signed by Mayor Marty Reynolds and Bernice Dubershine, who was the chairman of the county board at that time. And then, updated agreement in September of '03. That was approved by the county board. That listed Norris Building and Westlake Enterprises, Conway Plan. That was signed by Randy Taylor and Mayor Dan Goods. And I believe that that is the most recent one. So we're working on a 20-year-old document that has things listed in it that don't pertain anymore. So, alright, I've taken the floor. I know you had some comments.
No, I totally agree with you, but
For
we
them.
have to sit down, determine what portions of any of those agreements still apply, and whether we agree on those components or practices. And if we don't agree on something, or think something ought to be changed, then we ought to debate that and come to conclusions.
Right.
Because even though, and I've said this before, and we'll say it again, the long-term plan was always to try to get these facilities into private ownership and onto the tax roll. But in some cases, that's unlikely to occur, or at least unlikely to occur very quickly over time. And so I think we will need to exist for a time.
Oh, certainly.
And we might as well have the best operating agreement we can.
I agree.
Because as we've seen in other city-county ventures, if you just go by practices that aren't reduced to writing, it turns out it leads to a lot of confusion, and misunderstanding, and unnecessary arguments.
I agree.
Stay away from that.
So, with that being said, what my thought on this was, if we could, Ashley, could you send all of the members of this group all of the copies, every version, the original, the revision agreement, whatever you have in that, so that beginning next meeting, we'll all have had time to review those documents, and then we can start hammering it out at the next meeting.
There is one more too, there's a city resolution, and I don't know that there's any county companion to it, which essentially enables the county to manage all of these properties day by day, to collect the rent, pay the bills, and so on. It's kind of a one-sided resolution, but we've followed it for a number of years, so if you don't have that one, I do.
No, I got it.
Okay. Then you probably have all of them. If you don't have the Maryland.
I
Code,
don't
you're
have
fine.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can drag that up.
No. So this it's called the Joint Property Committee, but I've only seen us deal with buildings. How does, like, the rent of the agricultural land of that lot you were talking about on the corner of Dowdy and 27, how does that fall into the mix of all of this? And
I don't.
is it under the purview of this committee? How
I don't
is that?
I don't think it is, I don't know any reason why it shouldn't be, but I don't recall it ever being addressed.
Cause it's jointly owned, correct?
Yeah, I don't recall it ever being handled then.
The city's always handled the leases and the back for Gary, it's always rented.
Hasn't been rented in quite a while, has it?
Bill Parker owns it.
I was gonna say they bailed something on it, it didn't look like much this
Yeah,
year.
or mostly just grows rocks.
There's a lot of those out there, so, yeah.
Yeah, Gary will probably tell you some more money into it than we got out of it. Bill's in the same boat.
And Mike Natchez had leased it privately prior to that, the same thing, he walked away from it after a couple of years.
Okay.
So while we're on this topic, does it segue at all into that, city-county offer to acquire industrial buildings?
Well,
and property?
actually, the county's response at the last meeting, which was not favorable to the city's offer, leads me to think that if they're not gonna, either party's gonna agree on that, then we better hammer out a good deal here that we can coexist and work together and get better at this. That's my thought on it. So, I mean, we own these buildings together,
And frankly,
so let's hunker down and do it right.
We have gotten better
I'll agree with you.
in the last couple of 3 years.
So I mean, the buildings for the most part are running in the black right now. That's a good thing. So I mean,
Alan, you had some update on some of the little parcels of land?
Oh, I do have SEH putting together, because we had that discussion here last month. I think the biggest hang up you said was on the vacant land that was mentioned, and probably half of that land is unbuildable wetlands, so I've actually had SEH doing a parcel by parcel breakdown, utilizing the DNR's wetland mapping,
okay,
and they're gonna also put, you know, where utilities lie in conjunction to parcels, if any.
well, that would be good, because that'll give us an idea how to proceed with that. I mean, it makes no sense just to have property. I mean, you know, can the wetlands be put in as, stormwater filters or type, things like that? I know that things like that can be done. Can they be used, put to use, or is it just land that's good for nothing, you know?
Why would they have it then?
That, yeah, so.
Yeah, I was wondering, just based on, you know, what you had said last meeting, if people thought that, you know, all 90 acres or 100 acres or whatever was right along the Flambeau River and Highway 27 and, you know, worth a couple $1 million as commercial.
I think it's more people don't know, I don't know for sure, you know, and,
But
I know that there's a number of new members on the county board, and so, I mean,
I'd anticipate that they'll have those maps by next meeting. I didn't think it would take too long to put together.
alright.
I don't have the skills or the computer software to do it.
So are you okay with taking some time in the next meeting to start working on this thing? I don't expect to get it hammered out at the next meeting, but I sure hope we can put some serious dents in it, if we do enough homework on it first, so we have some ideas going forward.
Yeah, I actually don't think it'll be that difficult. I think there's just one or two basic hang-ups. We know what those are, and I don't know if we're gonna resolve them, but the primary one, city's primary hang-up is that we feel if it's 50-50, that LCIDC position should be voting. So that's,
I'm not pushing that. I think that it needs to be recognized that the IDC,
Yes.
LCIDC, is entrenched in economic development in West County. Now, that doesn't stop me from not having a vote, not being able to make a motion, second, whatever. It's kind of an inclusivity thing. Doesn't stop me from talking. Doesn't stop me
Right.
from bringing up issues. But I do think that there should be input from the IDC, because we're doing a lot of this.
let me give you an example here that I may have missed in a previous round. But, back when Russ County was fixing to purchase a site for the rail transshipment facility that we call the 20 rail yard, Ladysmith Development Corporation actually went off and got the option to purchase the property, because there was a fear in this group that if a seller, any seller, knew that a government entity was gonna buy the property, the price would go up. So the development corporation actually went out and secured the property. And, just a role that it played that was useful.
purchase property.
And I would, I think the property purchase was about $400,000. And I believe that, county probably put at least another $400,000 in county cash.
That's 160 acres, is that what it is?
About 147, maybe approaching 169. So I'm gonna say, this is just my recollection, maybe my numbers are wrong, but I think the county outlaid $800,000 of its own money, along with the grant money that it received from the Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, which I believe was probably 1 to 1.2 million. And frankly, I for one feel that you, the county, need to get a better return on that property than running 5 acres in the corner to Excel Energy to store mats on. Just,
Haven't moved their stuff down to the,
not that I'm aware of, but I haven't.
No,
Steve,
that-
I thought that's what they were.
I don't think so, they've got way more there than they'll ever put on that lot there in Grant Town.
And before you were on the county board, we literally, and this was something again that the Ladies and Development Corporation pulled together. We invited state forestry staff up here, from not only Madison, but Stevens Point, the local DNR staff, the county forestry committee, the county forestry department staff, all heard a presentation of information that those state DNR people put together for us, indicating that the county was only cutting about 50% of the timber it's growing, meaning that there's a lot of it not being utilized, essentially tipping over and rotting on the forest floor. And I'll grant you, it's probably the lower value stuff. There's always gonna be a market, I think, if it's pretty nice red oak and hard nickel log. But still, a great deal of material potentially available for sale to help balance the county budget. And not a damn thing being done to change that at the local level. They also said that that site over at Tony was one of the top half dozen sites in the entire state, owing to its size and rail connections. So again, a place with real opportunity, but nothing happened. Maybe that should be under this committee's purview, so that we can maybe promote that if you all agree with what I have to say.
Well, we'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, didn't that have to do also with the grade of the rails going east? Yeah.
And the Canadian National still maintains access to that, even though a short line called Watco has access almost to the east side of it, but not quite.
All that property you're talking about that has poor grade timber for sale or what is there, how much of that is privately owned at this point? Can't be counted in if it's privately owned.
Right. And I was referring probably primarily to county forest land. I do know, this is just an interesting fun fact to know and tell, but I know that, probably 30 years ago, the county forester went up in an airplane that was chartered by Georgia Pacific Corporation. And they flew over Russ County just as the popple was blooming in the spring, because popple will leaf out first before our other species do. And if you fly over the county right at the right time, you can see where all the popple is, how much there is. And they were favorably impressed by the amount of aspen that was available here in this county that could support a wafer board plant like the one up in Hayward. But when they did the geometry and checked out where it was located, they said, if this were all on county forest land, we'd make a deal with you. But they said the vast majority is privately owned, and it's so difficult, you know, you know,
Mhm.
tougher we have to go through to nail that down, to have
Yep.
access to it, that it's not worth it.
I understand that. Well, let's plan on putting some effort towards that at the next meeting. Okay. Alright. Speaking of which, when shall we have our next meeting? Christmas is during the fourth week, so it moves it up to the third week. Ashley, what kind of options do we have for this room?
Connie
The
has access to
third
the
week of the-
calendar.
Good, I put in already,
You did? So that would be what, like
December 18th.
the 18th? Does that work for everybody?
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday,
It's a Wednesday, cause finance meets that Thursday.
Yep. so
On the
Thursday we
19th.
can't.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, otherwise you look at the day after Christmas.
yeah, that's not so,
We could all show off our new presents and stuff. Bring peanut brittle for
I'm getting coal in my stocking. Alright, so next meeting, the 18th, 3:00.
In December. Yeah, she's got it.
Alright, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. A second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?